So, same recording session as the first couple, but we had a little chat between, we took a little break and we had a little chat between these two episodes. You had some important information to share about Okanogi.
Well, I had already mentioned it. I'm pretty sure I recognized that name from Higurashi.
Yep, but you confirmed it.
Yeah?
Yep, so that is indeed a thing.
Seems like it, though it doesn't seem to be closely tied into anything in particular, or to be fully consistent, really.
Yeah. The way you described it to me was that it doesn't seem consistent with his character in Higurashi, which, again, I've not played Higurashi, I don't know shit. The other thing was that I became, after we stopped recording, I became more and more convinced that what's happening in these is not that we're playing the same events over and over, but that it's trying to recreate the scene, looking at it from different angles, and trying to suss out the truth. It's not that it's two people sitting in a room playing a game and the game board is this time capsule that just keeps repeating. It's... I think what is actually happening is it's... Since the future with Angie in it seems to be the one thing that's indisputable here. We've only gotten one... Unless we start seeing multiple versions of that future, as they said earlier, the stuff in those 2 days are what's in flux. So what I think is really it's really Angie trying to toss between two different views on the same set of events in her head, trying to piece together what happened, and coming to radically different conclusions each time. And now she's decided to step in as a third perspective herself because she's seeing the limitations of the way she's been doing it up till this point.
I think my one big caveat to that is that at the very beginning, Angie did make it clear to not just trust her. And that probably means this as well. So I think that the idea of more pairs of eyes to better triangulate the truth is absolutely going on, but the idea that this is necessarily the correct framing device or the true occurrence of things, I think, is deeply in question.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe I shouldn't have tied myself so deeply to it being Ange specifically. But I do think I am becoming convinced that what is happening is that some party, possibly Angie, is trying to piece together what happened. And then that's what's happening in these retellings. Not that where it's a magical space where the same amount of time is repeated over and over. But that it's multiple people trying to peek inside the box and coming to different conclusions based on the same evidence. So what I'm saying is, like, it's what we're seeing are different ways of looking at the same set of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I was more sure of it like 20 minutes ago, but I still think it's worth keeping that in mind.
Indeed.
Anyway, 3 months left to live. It was last year when you said that, right, Dr. Nanjo?
I'm so glad I'm back on school now. I only spoke about it could comprehensively determine from his physical condition at the time. And the result this year too, it just so happened.
So even though it's doubtful whether... Wait, hold on. So even though it's doubtful whether Dad'll last until the end of the year, he's still totally focused on his occult research. And you still say he's only 3 months left, Doctor.
Like I said, kids are sad.
Shouldn't you be happy that a respected father is still in high spirits and have a sense of parental respect? Each one of you is so eager to greet father. I can see how upset you are that he's unwilling to meet with you.
Considering that everyone has started aiming for the inheritance while the sun is still in the sky, I can understand why father wouldn't want to see you. You've got it wrong, Natsuhine-san. We just,
Dad isn't immortal, and he'll die someday. We aren't telling him to die. We're just saying that he will die sooner or later.
So he may as well hurry it up.
We're just talking together about how to prepare for that.
And that is precisely what is so disrespectful.
Is it? Nah, stop it. You'll make your headache worse. Wait, remember to clue in on headaches, right? Remember we had a working theory last time around that headaches were generally present around someone using magic.
Nah, I don't know. I still don't necessarily buy that.
I'm not trying to put it forward as a theory that it's something that you need to buy. I'm saying it's something that we floated and maybe we should pay attention to it.
I think headaches come from Beato bonking you on the head with the magic pipe.
Booping you with... All right. Fine. You know what? I was trying to tie it back into something we'd seen before.
And it was good. It was smart to do so.
Kraus told Natsuhi, who had risen from her chair in agitation, to sit down.
Did she have headaches last route?
No. Last time she prominently had headaches was the first time around,
yeah,
right?
That's weird, huh?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Trying to smooth over at the atmosphere, which had suddenly become filled with suspicion, Hideyoshi put on a forced smile and motioned for everyone to calm down.
Natsuhi-san, don't misunderstand. People say you should always clean up after yourself, right? We're just talking about seeing him off. We're discussing this so we can see Father off neatly when he takes off on the journey he's eventually going to make.
After we talked about how weird it is that Hideyoshi calls Kinzo father.
I don't know.
It strikes me as a little, like...
Is it?
I wouldn't call my mother-in-law mom.
I legitimately don't know if that's a weird thing or not.
Like, I love my mother-in-law. She's very nice. But I don't know if I would... It feels weird.
But, like, maybe I legitimately don't have enough experience with families that aren't shattered and weird.
Yeah, okay.
To say whether that's normal or strange. Maybe that's totally normal for a close-knit family.
Maybe.
To do. I don't know.
It strikes me as odd, but it doesn't. Okay. That's just like you, Hideyoshi-san. Even though you're saying the same thing, you make it sound so intellectual. Yes, that's right. Unlike you, Nissan. Quit it. We aren't getting anywhere. So, like we're saying, Anaki, forget all this about the inheritance. I don't even care if Dad hits us. To make a long story short, we want to meet Dad directly and say hello. Even if he says he doesn't want to. Even if he's locked up in his study. We don't care if we have to borrow a key from Genji-san. Alright, Rosa?
Oh, well, it's not like we're forcing you. It's just, we haven't said hello to Father in such a long time. If his remaining life really is short, then there's a chance we might never be able to see him again. Today might be our final opportunity to exchange words with Father.
That's right, just like Rosa says. If he only has 3 months left, it wouldn't be odd for him to pass away any time now, right? Are you saying that despite that, we won't even have the right to talk with him one last time? Regardless of the circumstances. Isn't that just a bit too much?
If greeting Father were truly what you wish to do, I'm sure he'd happily allow you to meet with him. But Father has already heard about the disrespectful topic you hope to raise. No one would want to meet with you under those conditions. The reason you cannot meet with Father is because of your own doing and nothing else, is it not?
Haha, exactly. You shouldn't have to rack your brains to understand why Father doesn't wish to see your faces, right? Father has seen through all of your tight financial situations. What are you talking about? I don't have a clue what you're going on about, Nissan. Ha ha ha! Did you really think I didn't know about the state you're in? Ohio!
That was gonna be mine too!
Gozaimasu? But it's like... never mind, that's not the time. Ava and the rest realized that he had seen through to their current lack of funds, and alternating between bluffing and returning to the point at hand and arguing back, they repeatedly pressed Kraus to let them meet with Kinzo. The sweet smell of the black tea Rosa had gone out of her way to buy had been completely wasted. The only thing she was glad about now was that the children weren't here for this. The fact that they'd gone to play at the beach right after lunch had been their only salvation. Ava made as though to tackle Kraus, and Hideyoshi and Kiria cut between them, trying to calm both sides. Then Kiria took a deep breath and spoke. I'm sorry, Kraus-Nissan. I know I'm an outsider, but I wonder if you'd let me say one thing. I have a proposition. Nah, what is it, Kiria-san? First, and this includes my husband as well, for many years we have belittled the efforts you've made by living with Father and taking care of him. Isn't that right? That's, well, we got it easy since we get to go outside, but Anaki's been babysitting Dad for decades now, and that must have been a lot of work. I'll accept that, but what's your point, Kyrie? We must acknowledge that Kraus-Nissan is Father's caretaker. Isn't that right? We've always feared Father and have pushed the task of caring for him onto Kraus-Nissan. Everyone should acknowledge his efforts. Isn't that right, Eva-Nissan? And so what? Nissan is Father's caretaker? Don't decide things on your own, outsider.
Hey now, calm down. Kyrie-san, what are you talking about?
Kyrie, please continue. We should be more grateful towards Kraus-Nissan and Natsuhine-san. We should thank them for always taking care of Father. It's our lack of gratitude that's to blame for these wasteful conflicts we keep having. Isn't that right, Kraus-Nissan? I'm surprised! I did not think you, Kyrie-san, would be able to understand our efforts, which even my true siblings have not stopped to consider.
It's a natural duty for the successor to the Ushiromiya family headship.
Every time. I'm glad you haven't stopped. It's great.
I don't even remember why we gave her a ridiculous accent.
I think at some point it was mentioned that she and Hideyoshi were from different regions, so it was like, we got to give them a different accent to highlight that they're from I don't know. I don't remember why, but here it is. That's right. It's your responsibility as the successor of the headship, isn't it? It's because you take care of Father that we must acknowledge you as the successor. Hey, why are you bringing this up all by yourself? You're just an outsider. Wait, Anarchy. That's right. Just like Yuria says. Because you take care of Dad, you're the successor, Anarchy. It's just like you said.
Oh.
Rosa noticed, and then Ava did. Ava's barking demand towards Kyrie for advancing the discussion on her own disappeared in a flash, and she instead stared at Kraus and Natsuhi. Natsuhi couldn't understand that sudden change and was slightly flustered. Kraus-Nissan, if you'll accept just a few conditions, we won't ask you to let us meet Father again until he dies. Of course, we won't demand to be present at his deathbed. We wouldn't even mind being absent at the funeral. Oh? And what you got cooking up there? Where are you going with this? But I may as well listen for now. Let's hear your terms. First, the term successor to the headship refers to the caretaker, the current head, Ushiromiya Kinzo. And then? Second, the duty of the caretaker is to look after Ushiromiya Kinzo for the rest of his life. To make things simple, the caretaker's job is to care for him until his final moments. You were prepared to do that from the beginning, Kraus-Nissan, so that won't cause any problems. Naturally! I have no objection to either of those terms. We're already carrying them out. Third, on the off chance the caretaker is neglectful in his responsibilities of supervision, he shall be deprived of his rights as caretaker. With that sentence, all slack disappeared from Kraus's face. Natsuhi alone was still having trouble figuring out what it meant. Huh. And just what are these responsibilities of supervision that the caretaker bears? It means the supervision so that Father can live the rest of his life in the best possible health. I'll be more detailed than that. In the case that Father dies of anything other than a natural death, the caretaker will be deprived of his rights as a caretaker, and his status as the successor of the headship will be lost. If that happens, the next highest in rank, Eva-Nesa, will be selected as the successor.
What did you say? How can you shamelessly speak such nonsense?
Ha ha! My, the caretaker certainly has a heavy responsibility. However, people can die in many ways. For example, senile old people sometimes die when food gets caught in their throats. Normally, this is called death by old age in its broadest sense. But with your argument, that becomes death by accident, and I bear the responsibility of supervision. This is unjustly disadvantageous to me. I have no intention of forcing such an unfair argument on you. I'm referring to the kind of thing that the caretaker could have prevented beforehand, by taking good care and keeping his eyes on Father. Maybe the caretaker's job to carry food to the father's mouth, but whether he swallows it or not is clearly outside the caretaker's responsibility. I would have absolutely no problems with the example you raise, Cross Nisa. Huh? It sounds really weird in his voice. So what kind of case are you referring to that might cause the caretaker to be blamed for making such a blunder? For example, if he disappeared. So they think
that Kinzo has disappeared.
Oh, that's clever!
Oh.
Oh, that's so clever.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, shit. I love it. Aww. Seems that right now, Father is in firm control of himself, but dementia might begin to set in. He might wander around when you aren't looking and get into some kind of accident. Or he might get lost in the forest and go missing. Wouldn't this type of case clearly be the responsibility of the caretaker?
Father's mind is perfectly healthy. There is no need to bring up dementia.
Just every time they say it, I'm just like, it doesn't feel right. Ah! That might just be a cultural thing or a me thing.
What?
He's not your father, Kyrie. Why are you talking?
Oh, that. Sorry, I didn't realize that that's still what we were talking about.
No, that's it just
okay.
Yeah, it's probably just a me thing. It's not a big deal. One day, suddenly, I saw Father go into the forest. I chased after him, but I couldn't find him. I called the police and searched, but being unable to find him, after 7 whole years, I had him declared legally dead. My point is that we won't accept it if you use a story like that to treat him as dead. I love that. When Father passes away, an autopsy will certainly be carried out, and we will confirm that he died of old age in the most general meaning, within the bounds of common sense. A death of any other cause will be held as the caretaker's responsibility. You see, these are all the things you have toiled away at all this time, Grouse Nisa. These aren't strange conditions or anything of the sort, right?
You are mocking us, disgracefully so. I find it hard to imagine why my husband must be coerced into a rule that disgraces him in this way.
Actually, I've been suspecting it since last year. No, everyone here probably suspects it as well. Ava-ne-san and Hideyoshi-ni-san. Rudolph-san and Rosa-san, too. Everyone has suspected it the whole time, but it was so frightening us to imagine that no one has actually said it. Well, if that was the case, then how does Ava end up with the ring?
Well, we just established that I don't know.
Until we see a reason to not trust what's happening in 98, I'm prepared to take it as at face value.
Okay.
Because again, they've made it clear that the only part that's in question, that's in flux, is the stuff happening here. Stuff before and after that is well observed and set in stone.
If we believe that testimony.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Operating on that principle, I agree with you.
Okay. I see. So this is what you're trying to say. That Father is already dead and that I've been hiding it. Ah, that's right. Way past cool. Wow. That voice actually sucks. I'm just gonna give Battler my normal speaking voice.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it sucks. Oh god. One of the theories I thought of is key to solve the last mystery in the previous game.
You mean the very last bit, the mystery of who killed Dr. Nanjo?
That's right. The witch definitely said a lot in red. She mentioned the names of all 18 people and announced that they were alive or dead, and she claimed that there were no humans besides them. But with this theory, I can weave my way through the gap.
If there are 18 people, but one of them is not Kinzo because Kinzo's dead already.
Yep.
Huh. I see. So this is one of the answers that doesn't cause those two to contradict. Makes sense.
See, so this isn't them playing through it again. It's Battler putting forward now another potential version of events. See what I'm saying? You catch on pretty quick. It's nice that I don't have to explain.
No 19th person exists on this island.
But the one of the people they assumed that was the 18th isn't there. So there's an 18th person that hasn't been accounted for.
Okay, calling this now.
Yep, locking
that
it in.
will be the case, but it won't be Kinzo.
Because of course
Somebody
every twist
else.
has to have a double end to it, right?
Somebody else. Which I feel like I floated in Arc 1 that someone there wasn't who they seemed.
Yeah, you did. Which turned out to be sort of right, in that Kumasawa is also Virgilia.
Yeah, but that's in the sense of the witch level.
Right. So someone there is. What if? Hold on. No one's seen Battler in like a okay. His
which you
family has.
also floated, I think.
Did I float that one?
I think you
that
did.
Battler might not be Battler.
One or the other of us floated that idea that Battler might not be Battler, and he would be the most plausible.
Right, because he's the one that they're making a good case for Kinzo since he keeps himself secretive, but he also has people. He still has his attendants and Nanjo coming to him at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be harder to do. But if anyone was to be faked, it would be Battler, the one that none of them have seen in approximately forever.
Which is why it also won't be Battler. It'll be someone else who has a rock solid alibi.
You sure? Because I think Battler would be a suitably kind of topsy-turvy twist for it to be, and especially since your first instinct would be Kinzo, because Kinzo's the one who's secretive and won't let people see him. I like it because it's your second instinct, and that tends to be a lot of this game tends to operate on subvert your first instinct and go with your second.
And then subvert your second and go with your third. And then subvert your third and go back to your first. And then subvert your first and go back to the third again. And then subvert the third and just keep going around.
I'm not trying to. I'm not like committed to it. But again, I will say again, if there's someone on this island who wasn't who they purported to be, it would be Battler. That would be the easiest one to fake. I'm not saying it would be easy because it's still family and like even after 6 years they still have an idea of what you'll grow up to be, but. If he's really been away that long.
What about the servants? We have basically Kinzo's word.
I guess there is also a word between servants because they've worked with each other a long time.
Indeed.
I guess that could also be put forward that the servants could also be holy shit. Wait, I just realized something.
Yeah.
She said in red that everyone was dead. While they're alive or dead.
Mm-hmm.
Did she say
what?
Did she say that Battler is dead in red? Because if so, that means Battler would have already been dead before the start of this and someone is impersonating him.
I don't believe that was said, but I'm not sure.
Because remember, at the end of the last game, she went through in red and labeled everyone alive or dead.
Yeah. I guess we'd have to go back and look, but...
I need to... Yeah. That one's a little bit more fringe, but...
I don't know. I don't think...
It'll be Battler?
I don't think it'll be Battler.
Who else
Because I feel like there's too clear of a motive and too clear of a possibility.
Okay.
And that it'll be something a level deeper.
Or maybe we just actually got ahead of one of these. We're very not used to being ahead on any of... That's the other thing, is that we're very not used to being ahead of any of these. We usually figure stuff out, like, a couple pages before they get shared. Right? Mm-hmm. So if we actually did get ahead on something and figure it out, our natural instinct would be to be, there's no way.
I don't know.
We'll keep it in the back of our head. We're getting a little bit too meta now. But it's worth considering. And yet this trick lets us mix in an unknown new character. In other words, the names of all 18 people don't necessarily correspond to the 18 people on the island. That's it. The witch mentioned the names of 18 people one after another. Announced whether they were alive or dead. On top of that, she announced that there were no humans other than the 18. There was a single illusion in there. It wasn't guaranteed that the names of 18 names of people equals the 18 people on the island. She named off all 18 people and announced who was alive and who was dead. She hid the name of culprit X and instead mixed in someone who wasn't on this island.
Or any number of people, come to think of it.
Yeah, but at that point, it's a little bit... I think you're right in that it might be one of the servants, but I'm trying to... But then, what would be, like... Goda could be someone who isn't Goda, but is pretending to be Goda, but also that means they've only known the fake Goda, so how good is that, actually?
Goda is Beatrice.
Godatrice theory? Confirmed! By doing that, even though the culprit was on the island, she was able to leave him out of the list of living or dead people. The person who was mixed in actually was on the island, so he didn't count towards the total number of people on the... Well, now they're forcing he, so it's obviously going to be a lady.
Hmm.
Then again, they know those basic-ass tricks, so maybe... I can't... None of my usual, like, trope reading skills work in this game, and it's awesome. It's awesome. It's genuinely a great experience, because it plays upon your knowledge of how conventions on how this stuff should work.
Mm-hmm.
Even, like, the meta conventions, which is great. I love it. By this, even though the culprit counted towards the total of 18 people on the island, it was possible for his name not to be listed. The two statements in red are completely independent, so this theory creates no contradiction.
If someone's name was used to hide the existence of the culprit, that name must satisfy several conditions. Am I talking?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
That is you talking. And I don't know if it has to. Could be a coincidence of a same name, or it could be just they're already dead.
First of all, even though this person isn't on the island, they've got to be someone we think is on the island. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to trick us. And it's best if this person happens to be dead. No alibi is more perfect than death. After all, at that point, the mystery was based on the fact that the crime was impossible for all 18 people. Is it something like that?
Yeah, that's it. And that person was... Grandfather. Right now, there's only one thing Curious Sounded can be about to say. We thought Grandfather was locked up in his study, saying that he didn't want to meet anyone. There's a possibility that he's actually dead already. And Uncle Kraus is lying when he claims that Grandfather's alive. That's right. Grandfather was closed up in his room the whole time and no one saw his face. Maybe he was already dead, and Uncle Kraus and the others were conspiring together to trick everyone.
If Kinzo dies, the distribution of the inheritance occurs. However, if Kinzo doesn't die... No, if he dies but it isn't announced, the distribution of the inheritance won't take place.
In other words, Uncle Kraus could have all of Grandfather's wealth to himself. That's right, he's got more than enough motive. Maybe a 19th person X really doesn't exist on this island. But a person X existed, and that person was the 18th person. Why does Battler get more fangs in this one? He hasn't already been that fangy, has he?
He has.
Has
I
he?
think.
Alright, I just haven't
It runs in the family.
Okay, okay. In other words, there were originally 17 people on the island, not 18. Then an unknown person X snuck in and committed the crime. How's that, Beato? Come out, I've just solved the final biggest mystery from last time. As Battler claimed that forcefully, the crisp sound of clapping came out of nowhere, and their surroundings turned bright, coming the usual witch's tea room. They're really going with the whole sitcom bit, aren't they?
Bravo, bravo. I wish I could deny that someone as incompetent as you has finally gotten a feel for it, but somehow or another you've managed to come up with a single answer. Even a lump of concrete can stop thinking. So, you have now finally evolved into a being with intelligence.
Finally, level 27!
Yeah, you need to evolve holding a murder your family stone.
I promise I'll stop with the battle, but I'm still going to use it for asides because it's really fun. And it's also really easy to be like, oh, it's Battler doing this little aside because it's got, you know.
You might say you've finally taken a step forward from the crying creature you were before. Just licking my shoes and grinding your teeth, which is tough to do at the same time. Bravo for figuring that out.
It's in how you work the tongue around your molars. I can't believe that stupid wordplay threw me for so many loops last time. My own incompetence pisses me off even more. Alright, Beato, repeat it! If you can announce that 18 people on the island included Grandfather, just try and do it. Yeah, you can't, bitch. Because he was already dead. This is the end of your deposition.
Deception?
Deception.
Well now, what have we here? Shall I slice that in two with the red truth? No, it might also be good to hold back for now and let you get all excited. If I'm gonna push you off a cliff anyway, it would be more interesting to lure you to a higher place first.
Kinzo did show up last time, but only in scenes where it was people who would have been trusted confidants in on the deception.
Indeed.
Because he showed up in the scene with with where the servants go into his room, and then there's the big fight with Beato.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Presumably they would have been on the deception at that point. But then also, how would he have counted amongst those needed for the Twilights? Beato sneered obnoxiously. She looked like she was searching for an expression that would tick me off even more.
Just trying on different faces. Just trying on different stupid faces until Battler gets angrier.
If nothing else, I think the biggest thing going for the old art is that the way it does crooked expressions is perfect. This Beato face right here, this is perfect. You cannot get better than that. That is perfect. Although maybe her held tilted eyes open one is a little bit more, but still, like, chef's kiss. As though she was saying that the answer I'd reached was impossibly ridiculous. Compared to me, annoyed as I was with the witch's attitude, Gretel had a blank and composed expression on her face. Almost as though she'd expected the witch to act that way.
I see. Just like how Battler has learned and grown, so has the witch.
What's wrong, Beato? Don't act so tough. I asked if you can repeat it. Answer.
Stop it, Battler. The witch won't answer so easily. She won't do it unless she thinks it'll benefit her.
What? What do you mean? That's not fair.
You've been toyed with by this red truth in the games up until now, so the witch has used it many times.
So wait, how else would Angie know about what's going on here in the past? Like, did they just sit down and fill her in? Did Bernie fill her in?
Does she, even?
It seems like she does. She's referring to stuff that's happened in previous games, not just, like, the end of the last game.
I don't know. It's unclear. But now, the situation is different. You're trying to draw the red truth out of her, and are instead using it as your weapon. In this situation, there's no way the witch will keep firing off the red without reason. Right? Gretel, or whoever you are, it seems your mind is quite sharp, unlike Badlet's. What a fearsome enemy I've welcomed in. That is correct. When Battler hopes I'll use the red truth, do I have any responsibility to do so? No!
Again, more good Beato faces. Just put that one in the album.
I don't even have a crumb from that croissant you ate this morning's worth of responsibility to please you!
You bastard!
Anyway, are there any more croissants? I'm back.
Isn't Ronove your servant?
Yes, that's the face. I started playing with the red truth just because I wanted to see that face. I have no reason to play around if it won't give me a chance to see you look like that.
You just don't like losing, right? Just saying whatever you can to trick me because you can't answer my demand won't work.
Don't be so full of yourself. An answer like that could be cut to pieces without any effort.
Angie hops in. Get a room, you two!
But I won't go out of my way to speak in red. I won't say it, because that's what you're asking me to do. Do you know why? You just said it. You want to push him off at the sweetest spot. This ill-natured witch is saying she won't use the red anymore because that's what you want. In other words, she won't go along with this game of telling her to repeat things anymore. Exactly. Unlike Battler, everything goes quickly with this girl with no need for explanations. I will say what I please with the red truth at the time that I desire. That's it. Basically, it's the witch's right to use the red truth as she pleases. She doesn't have to use it at whatever time the human side desires. But even that depends on the situation.
On the...
Situation.
On the...
Situation.
On the situation?
Yes.
The situation? What do you mean?
The witch has no responsibility to respond when you tell her to repeat something. But it does become her responsibility if and only if your claim can destroy the witch theory.
Oh, if and only if. My old friend, I thought I'd lost you forever.
Just wait until we start busting out those XORs and NANDs.
Those are the best, though. Oh, man. Now, shorten it to IFF. Come on, do it.
After all, in this trial court without a judge, that which is not refuted becomes the truth. Just like how the witch theory made by the witch will instantly become truth if you collapse and stop thinking.
Then since she doesn't have a counter-argument for my guess, that means it's right? It's right that the culprit is the mysterious 18th person X and grandfather's already dead?
At least until the witch argues back. Truth always loses to new truths farther in the future. The tricky part is that even the timing of the counter-argument is up to the witch. In other words, maybe your reasoning just now was correct, or maybe the witch is refraining from arguing back even though you're wrong. Or the witch may be ignoring it because it doesn't shake the basis of the witch theory in the first place. But either way, we can't tell the difference at the current time.
Right, so it's just like a move that you've made, like bringing it back to chess. She doesn't have to, like, she can let you take as many pieces as you want, but unless you put her in actual check, she doesn't have to fight back to stay in the game.
Indeed. Is that more or less it?
How come you only answer with laughs nowadays?
Damn you, Lady Burncastle, for throwing in such a troublesome piece.
Sup? I'm back.
Thanks to that, I'm losing all my lines. The witch has learned that she can respond to your demands to repeat phrases at a later time. Maybe you would even call it a delayed move.
She's messing with me. So even if I announce some mistaken reasoning, there's a possibility that Beato will intentionally let me flounder about it without denying that guess. At the very end, when I propose an even more massive line of reasoning, she can cut it off at the base and spin everything around. A single piece of reasoning becomes a bridge to the next piece. By demanding that she repeat lines, I've been able to strengthen my position in advance bit by bit. But since that bastard Beato learned this strange delay tactic, I can no longer confirm nor deny my reasoning. This is like finally finding a staff that'll let me search around in the darkness only to lose it right away. I'm just stuck now, right?
Hey, Battler. If you make a despairing face like that, I won't be able to stop drooling, you see?
Oh my god, stop it!
From the beginning, that staff was nothing more than something I gave you because you were so worthless. All this means is that you can finally challenge me without a handicap, right? But that alone doesn't change the fact that demanding that you repeat things is one of Battler's ways to fight back. As I already said, as long as it's something fatal that'll destroy the witch theory, the witch is obligated to argue back, and therefore to speak with the red truth. While the timing of that counter-argument is up to the witch, it must be performed eventually. Isn't that right? That may be so. If I cannot deny the tricks done by humans theory that Battler lays out by the time the game ends, Battler will use that as a reason to deny me, and it'll be possible for him to proclaim his victory. So, should we view this as a restriction on the witch's side? That the trick theory laid out by the human side, in other words, what he tells you to repeat, must be countered during the game. In parentheses, during the episode, I say, staring directly at the audience.
Where are you staring at?
The audience.
Oh, them! We try not to make direct contact with them. They're very nice people, though. Always leaving nice comments and likes, and helping out with the YouTube algorithm. Say hi to them, Angie.
Hey there.
Awesome! You're doing such a good job. Now ignore them and pretend they don't exist.
Okay, it'll be tough, though.
Okay.
That is so. Battler's goal is to show that he can explain the entire pleasant game I have laid out on this island with humans and deny me. If Battler succeeds in that, at that time, he will become the victor of this game.
Yeah, so Beato's just the personification of, like, not conspiracy theory, but the legend that's built up around the incident in the years since.
I like that we now have two very different theories according to which the events are not occurring.
Here's the thing. I don't think any of our theories are perfect yet.
Yeah.
I'm treating all of our theories so far as stepping stones, or like kind of like grasping at bits and then trying to see how they fit, and then we'll change them later as stuff. Like the game.
Yeah.
But I still think, within all of that, I still think viewing magic as tied directly to the cycle of abuse is also, like, fundamental to understanding what's going on.
The more we go and the more stuff starts to seem to confirm that, the more I'm like, no, we need to go back to magic is literally real.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, witches are still real and your friend. So don't worry.
Okay. Let me confirm the rules. Should we view the time the game ends as referring to 24 o'clock on October 5th, 1986, going by the time of the Rokkenjima in the game? I have no problems with that. At the time the game ends, the human side must state a theory using tricks for all of the mysteries. And if the witch side cannot argue back, the human side can proclaim its victory. Does that work? Let us be more specific. When the game ends, the witch side will be given a chance to argue back. Let's decide on an amount of time. 1 minute. If you cannot carry out your counter-argument within 1 minute, victory will be proclaimed.
Wow, that's rough.
And allow me to impose the same rule on you. At the time the game ends, the human side will be granted 1 minute to counter the mysteries it has been given. If even a single mystery has not been countered within that time, it becomes the witch's victory, and that game is over. Huh. 1 minute. Seems like not very many minutes, huh?
No, that doesn't seem like a lot of minutes.
It would be such a killjoy to have the game stopped for lengthy consideration, right?
I guess the point is that you're supposed to have your answer by the end of the 2 days. So really, it should be just presenting the fruits of your work. Rather, because you have the time the game is running to look at what's happening and put together what you think is happening. Right? And then, like, the minute they're giving it the end is just like, okay, here's what I got.
That said, does this also give us info? Does this mean that the solution to everything that's going on is something that is, on some level, simple enough that it could be summed up in a minute?
Probably not, because Beato has no That's just the restriction they gave to Beato. Beato agreeing to it back doesn't necessarily mean that they can win in a minute. She just might be taking advantage of how they've phrased it. Because she's not the one, like, this is what they presented to her.
Okay.
She could be like, oh, you're never going to be able to do it in a minute. Yeah, let's go with that. That's awesome. You asshole. Moving things along without me. But I more or less get what's going on. The battle is not important anymore. It's Angie and Beato time. Even if
you had enough time to play with cool witches. You've had 3 whole episodes. It's my turn to hang out with cool witches.
Actually, I believe this is episode 38. Listen, don't worry about it. Oh, you haven't met those two yet.
Yes, that's right. And that must happen before 0001 o'clock on October 6th. I don't know how we read those.
Midnight 1.
Midnight 1?
Or like,
1 after midnight.
Yeah, it's just like
2 minutes to midnight, the hands
you could
that
just say
threaten doom.
Just say 1201 on October. Like that's how we would say it.
God. Oh my god, you're a genius.
What do you mean I'm a genius?
I forgot how to say times.
You forgot how to say times.
Anyway, let's roll.
No, you want me to just brush that under the rug and move on?
Yes.
Okay.
But be careful. She only has to cut up one of the things you tell her to repeat. You can't proclaim your victory unless you solve all the puzzles. Just as I can use the red, from now on, I will allow you to use the blue, battler.
What?
Oh my god. Oh my god. He's gonna get his own truth.
I finally get my own color.
He's getting magic power.
Oh, fuck yes.
When explaining my magical murders with humans and tricks, you may state your claims in blue. I am responsible for countering your blue with the red by the end of the game.
Holy crap, I can speak. Oh my god, my words are blue. Did you give me synesthesia again? Blue. So I'll talk in blue when I tell you to repeat things?
Not quite. When you told me to repeat lines, you were able to do it for any trivial thing. But the blue is a little more restrictive. Unless it by itself denies witches, it will not be valid.
It's starting to get confusing, but it's more or less something like this. For example, let's take one of the riddles in the past where I asked her to repeat something. The actual number of master keys is 5. That had to confirm that there really were 5 master keys when she claimed there were no more than 5. But since that by itself would deny witches, I can't say it in blue. So in order to speak in blue, I'd need to say something like this. The actual number of master keys was greater than 5. The culprit entered or exited the room with that extra key. Only then would the witch who claimed that this was a closed-room murder made with magic be responsible for making a counter-argument. In other words, I can't demand that she repeat something that merely confirms the premises of my reasoning. That'll probably be a significant disadvantage for me. That's interesting to know. Okay, so there's no more of this, unless Beato deigns to do it for whatever reason, there's no more of this red truth to confirm premises.
But...
However... Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm not... Continue your sentence.
However, if my thought that they're just running over different theories of the same thing is correct, can we still take red truths from previous go-rounds as fact?
I don't know.
If the theory that they are just testing out different versions of the same set of events, could we compile red truths from the past couple ones and then use that as information to put together a more complete picture of what actually happened?
The interesting thing is clearly not all of them, because people died in different ways, for example.
But were they denied and read in different ways?
It's not clear.
That's the thing.
But
I wonder if they were careful enough about that stuff denied and read is still factually true for the actual series of events, and also works for the particular series of events they're providing there, but is presented in such a way that if you take it in that way, it's kind of misleading because, again, you're looking only at what they show you, not how it fits into the bigger picture.
I feel my gut feeling is that that's not the case, but I can't prove it. I can't think of any red truth off the top of my head.
Right.
For that.
Because
we'd have to go back and look. If there I feel like that's just too convenient.
Yeah. Well, is it? It requires several leaps of logic to get there. If there is an obvious red truth contradiction that we've missed at this point, let us know. Because again, stuff that we've already been by, we're not going to remember all of it. But I think it's a valid theory worth paying attention to. The idea that the red truths are still hold true even for the actual series of events. And again, that's presuming the theory that these are just retelling different versions of the same series of events and not like time loop. So there's a conditional there, but I think it's valid. I think that's a valid way of looking at it.
So separately, my thing I was gonna say.
Yes.
I don't think this is a disadvantage for Battler. I think this is a strong advantage when used correctly for one and exactly one reason.
Hit me.
He can create an obligation to respond now. That never existed before. Previously, Beato could frequently just decline, and it didn't result in her loss. And so, now that we've established, she's not going to use the red truth just for trivial things, she's not going to do it whenever asked, but she can be compelled to do it, when before she couldn't. She chose to all the time, but couldn't be compelled. Now she's choosing not to, but can be compelled. So while the quantity of red truths will be lower, they can be carefully crafted.
Right.
To get specific information.
Yep.
In a way that is obligatory, rather than her having always an out.
Yep. As long as it specifically denies witches. Like there's no more just premise setting stuff.
Yeah.
As long as it can specifically deny with the thing that strikes me as a potential counterexample to my own theory was that there's a lot of red truths about how particular murder rooms were set up.
Yes.
And that's a lot of spilled ink over stuff that might not actually matter in the larger picture. Or maybe those particular sets of murder rooms were true. But actually, no, now that I think about it even more. Because she probably made specific red truths about specific people dying in specific different ways.
Yeah, like that the 6 died last time as though it was a spear or gun or something.
Right? That could be consistent.
And so on. Yeah, but they didn't die that way in other times.
I'm thinking,
probably confirmed.
if she ever made a claim about location, because then it'd be weird to spend a lot of time on Red Truth being like, yeah, this series of locked doors and keys is a thing. I'm workshopping it. I'm gonna keep it in the back of my mind, but I'm less convinced about it than I was like 3 minutes ago.
I actually think the locked doors and keys and stuff is another good one that's a counterexample, because those rooms weren't locked in that way previously.
Yep. Unless, again, the fact is that because they're going through and trying different things, events might be different and might contradict the Red Truth in previous ones. But remember, they're still just trying out different things. Mm-hmm. That just could be another reason why that particular series of events doesn't work. Because it contradicts that Red Truth there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. This is getting a little bit off track now. I'm sorry about that. But I'm told the people like our theorizing, so we're going to keep doing it. It's enough to make the red Banto used to toy with me until now look extremely merciful. Blue Nerf gun battler. Ha! Banto's red cherished sword and battler's blue Nerf gun. Pew. Damn it. So even if I create a theory for a particular closed room and speak it in blue, Banto denies it at the very, very end. I won't even have time to create my next theory. This rule's awful, horribly bad for me.
Are you gonna surrender before the fight begins again?
No.
Calm down. No one said you could only use the blue once for each mystery. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, but I'm just asking you to repeat it just to make sure that everyone knows what it means.
Okay. In the pitiful way you've been fighting up until now, you've made a single theory, glanced at the witch's complexion, and if that one didn't work, you'd then start making another theory. You won't corner a witch like that.
Then how should I fight? You don't mean...
Yeah, that's right. You don't attack her riddles with a point. You assault them with a wall. You said so yourself in an earlier game, that the force of your reasoning should be like that.
See, how does she know about stuff in earlier games?
Yeah, huh?
I'm convincing myself. Assault with a wall. That's right, I said so myself earlier. Guessing and trying to expose the mystery is like trying to shoot at a distant target with an arrow. Until now, I've just been shooting off arrow after arrow, asking the witch if I scored a hit, and then preparing my bow again once I'm told that I've missed. There's no way that I'll hit at that rate. Bullets might be a better example than arrows. Take one shot after another at a distant target with a handgun, you probably won't hit it easily. So how can you hit it? If a handgun doesn't work, use a shotgun. Instead of a single bullet, beat her down with a shot comprised of countless projectiles at once. Shots scatter, so it impacts a wide area. That makes it optimal for shooting small, fast targets like birds. That's right, there's no rule that says I have to guess like a pistol, shooting one shot off at a time. Making a single theory and just hoping that it hits is no better than stopping your own thinking. Blast away with a massive number of bullets, guesses, and then make them impact like a wall so that only one of them hitting the target is enough. Blue, huh? Dabadi. I get it. Pure red truth is a razor-sharp katana, then it looks like my blue is a shotgun. No, a machine gun whose firepower will turn the witch into a honeycomb.
No, a Nerf gun.
No. Bad witch.
I see. So it's an awkward gun that fires many shots. That sort of crude analogy is just like you.
Why are you so hot when you do that? I mean, the climax of a detective novel is always the same. The famous detective gathers all the suspects at once and displays a single trail of logic that works splendidly. Almost like William Tell spectacularly shooting through an apple with a single arrow. That's why I mistakenly took that to be a virtue. It probably would be splendid, if I could shoot through the truth with a single guess. But that isn't realistic. Right? Which is why we keep coming up with multiple theories and we're testing them out and like... It's great! It's like what we're doing!
Yeah, huh?
Look at Real Wars. Do they really have everyone pull long guns out of the trench, aim really well, and take shots at each other one at a time? They don't, right? They fire rapidly, they fire all over the place, they pin down the enemy with a barrage. Reasoning is the same way. Because of that weird virtue, I've been stuck thinking it's better to take one line of reasoning at a time. We humans can fire off countless guesses and possibilities. The bullet is the firepower of the imagination. Suspension of thought is a clogged barrel. The pathetic way I've been reasoning up until now is like a pea shooter. I've been so incompetent, weakly firing off shots, getting them denied in red, then taking the next bullet and reloading. My blue truth, which claims that humans and tricks are what's real, will overpower its target, the illusion told by the witch, with its firepower and the force of what I can imagine. This is my Ushiromiya Battler's fighting style. Trademark.
I fucking hope that that's what his fighting style is like in Golden Fantasia.
Which we still can't look up because apparently there are spoilers for that game still. I asked a friend of ours who was familiar with it when I could start looking up stuff at the fighting game, and they're like, well, maybe towards halfway through the end of Chapter 8, and I'm like, fucking hell. Okay, so even in looking up like a portrait of one of the characters for like a tweet, like I immediately stumble upon something and I'm like, I don't know what that is yet. What the fuck? How come I can't peacefully Google for benign images of this game, huh?
But there's also so many fucking wheels within wheels that even when you got spoiled on one thing, it turns out to not matter and also be simultaneously true and false in some way.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I'm not worried too much about it when I get like just context stuff like that, because it's not, I have no context for it or why it's important. But it's just like, what the fuck is this game? Thanks to you, I figured out my true fighting style. Thanks, Gretel.
You're welcome.
Makes me think of how pathetic I was before. Yeah, it's like Beato said. I've had a handicap up until now. I acknowledge that. New rule understood. I have my own way of fighting. I'll show you it.
That willpower is good. I like it. And try using it right away, this blue truth of yours.
Yeah, I'll use it. With this blue truth, I'll break apart your witch theory, which states that only a witch culprit was possible because everyone had alibis. This is my truth. Ushiromiya Kinzo is already dead. Oh my god, why can I see blue when I say that? I'm used to it when it's coming from you and I see red, but when I see blue when I say it, it's so weird. Oh my god. Therefore, the true number of people on the island is 17. Not necessarily. But again,
that's one theory.
Yep, that's one.
It doesn't mean his establishing this theory doesn't mean that he can't also establish that there are 18.
By adding an unknown person X to that, it becomes 18 people. By supposing that this person X exists, the crimes will be possible, even if all 17 people have alibis. In short, if you'd like to keep preventing us from meeting with Father, we will have to accept the following theory. Simply put, Father is already dead, but you're hiding that because you don't want the inheritance to be distributed. Ridiculous!
That is correct. This is worse than ridiculous. I have never heard such an insult.
Did it even be possible for us to check by force whether he's alive or dead, with the police there to witness it? Isn't that right, Eva-ne-san? Yes? Yeah, that's right, Nissan. There are all sorts of ways we could set you up. We could easily arrange for a situation where you'd have to hold a meeting with Father under the supervision of a third party. Still, I think that would bring a lot of shame to the Ushiromiya family. I love how all of these characters are assholes. Everyone in this family is an asshole. But also they're sympathetic enough. But also they're assholes. I love how each one of these turns of events is a different way that they could be an asshole.
And depending on whether you look with love or not, they could either be the most sus one there or completely blameless.
That's fucking amazing. I love it. I think now that we've seen it another time, I'm coming to the appreciation of how this game writing works. There was something about the third chapter that just didn't sit right with me until like the very end, and even now I still think it's kind of like not the strongest, but this is chef's kiss. That's why I'm making this proposal. Here we have the responsibilities and duties of the caretaker, and a penalty in the worst case scenario. If you consent to those terms, we'll be able to refrain from doing something like dragging Father outside. Yeah, that's right, Anarchy. Didn't you just say it yourself? You're carrying out your natural duties as Dad's caretaker. Curious conditions shouldn't be anything to worry about, right? Why this overreaction? Are you really that worried about having the position of successor dragged out from under you if Dad dies of something other than a natural death? Or else what? Do you have some reason to think Father might die doing something other than a natural death?
How could I? I see. I do understand how father feels. How pitiful his later years have been for him, unable to die as he pleases.
Yes, his later years truly have been pitiful. And the thought that these later years are already something of the past is exactly what we are suspecting. You could completely clear the suspicion away just by letting us meet with father. So even after being humiliated by us this much, you still won't allow us to meet with him, Krasny-san.
Nah.
Father is probably already dead. The corpse may have been disposed of in absolute secrecy. After taking all the wealth for yourself as father's agent, you will make it seem that he disappeared until 7 years pass, making father a corpseless member of the deceased. I'm sorry. Please don't take it back. I'm just playing detective here.
How rude can one be? You have no right to stay in this mansion. Leave immediately. I won't permit you to cross the threshold of this house again.
It worked last year, but you used up your luck if you thought it would work this year, too. Father's in a bad mood, so he can't meet with us? That was plenty suspicious last year, and that you're doing it again. If you really wanted to fake being father's agent and grab all his assets, you should have done it a little more speedily, making him disappear without waiting for today's family conference. You really are naive, Kraus Oni-sama. Why did she change honorifics there? It went from Ni-san to Oni-sama. I don't understand the subtlety and the difference there.
Well, in that case, that being one that would imply high respect, which would, I would assume, be sarcasm, right?
Right. Oh, so
like
Oni-sama is
esteemed older brother.
Okay, so the latter one she was using is implying more respect.
Yeah,
but she's probably using it in a sarcastic way.
That would be my guess as someone who does not know Japanese and also am reading the translation.
Yeah, I feel like at some point we just gotta learn at least some basic knowledge of like honorifics and shit.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you are.
However, if it is a fact that father's in a bad mood, and you're preventing us from meeting him as part of your responsibilities as his caretaker, then it's a very wonderful thing you're doing. In that case, if you just accept our condition, everything will be settled here and now. After all, you care so greatly for Father Krasny. There's no way Father will die in a manner that leads to trouble during the autopsy. After all, Father hates hospitals, so he'll pass away in his study, right? An autopsy will certainly be carried out no matter what happens. The only way to kill him without an autopsy would be for him to disappear. Enough, Kirie-san. I think you've bullied Ni-san enough. Ava rebuked Kirie in a sinkingly kind voice. Considering the situation, that was impossible, which is why it was sickening. I'm sure Ni-san has his own difficulties to worry about, as well as his pride. True, Ni-san might consider that one of his natural duties, but if you force him to put it on paper and assign penalties, I could hardly blame him for getting upset. Don't you agree, Rosa?
Yes, that's right. She might have made light of Kraus Nissan's pride as the eldest son a little too much. I'd feel bad for him if we were to force him to sign a statement regarding the duties of the caretaker as Kirie-san has laid them out.
That's right. You're doing a good job, Aniki. You're doing a good job, Aniki. Taking that into account, we might consider avoiding all that's about signing parentage papers and worst-case penalties. And leave everything to you. New Kraus angry face?
Whoa!
We've never seen... I like how I can tell when we see new faces.
Yeah.
And unless it's just the case that it's not a new one, but it only comes up rarely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't hate me in the comments.
This one's pretty good, but it's no Happy Hideyoshi with a gun.
Happy Hideyoshi with a gun is legendary. I defy you to find a better one than Happy Hideyoshi with a gun.
I'm just waiting for Happy Beato with a gun.
Happy Beato with a gun would be like transcendent.
The ultimate witch combined with the ultimate anti-witch weapon. There's nothing that can defeat this.
You people!
Not just Ava, but Rudolph and Rosa as well, with unnerving smiles on their faces as though they'd planned this beforehand, began closing in on Kraus. They now understood perfectly how Kirie had cornered Kraus, and exactly where she was prepared to compromise. We were talking about a signed statement regarding the responsibilities of the caretaker.
But even without signing such a thing, make it so that we'll never demand a meeting with father again. You can prove your fitness as father's caretaker with a form of guarantee, other than a signed statement. Are you telling me to pay security money? Hilarious! The security plan? The security money will be paid to Eva-san, Rudolph-san, and Rosa-san. 3 billion yen each. As a deposit, you will transfer 10% of that, 300 million yen, before the year is out. 9 billion! I don't have that kind of money! After father passes away, you should be able to work it out. We've managed to investigate at least that far. You should be able to handle this deposit of 900 million yen in your current financial situation. And it should even be possible for you to borrow it from father, right? There's no need for obvious charades anymore. How unpleasant! Truly unpleasant!
It is at that. Even just the discussion of father's inheritance was far too disrespectful. Father is already dead. My husband is hiding that and keeping all the money for himself. I have had enough of this. None of you are qualified to bear the name Ushiromiya any longer. Calm down, Natsuki-san. We've said all we need to. Why don't we leave it at that for now? This is happening all of a sudden and on a massive scale. We might be even getting agitated ourselves. Why don't we take a break for a while and cool our heads? Kraus-san probably needs a little time himself.
What bastards?
Right, Kraus-san?
Time? And why would I need something like that?
Don't worry. We aren't thinking of anything shady. We're just so eager to see father that we've started grumbling a bit. And Kraus-san, I know real well how you're dying to get back at us for the things we said. If you're willing to go so far, then you just need to let us meet with him, right? Isn't that right? You just got a bit stubborn and it felt awkward to say you'd let us see him after saying we couldn't all those times. Isn't that it? Right? It certainly does seem that my husband has lost his composure slightly, just like the rest of you have. We were only refusing stubbornly out of respect for father's desire not to meet with everyone.
Indeed, that's right. It was turning into another sibling fight like the old days, and I started to feel stubborn as well. Let us cool our heads. I understand how much you all want to meet with father. I'll pass that on to him. I'll find some way to convince father to meet with you. Will that do?
Yeah, I think it'd be okay to give Kraus-san some time to persuade father.
Yep. We're counting on you, Aniki. Please persuade him to meet with us. After all, your dad's caretaker. As for persuading him, let's set a limit on it to sometime tonight, okay? When tomorrow comes, we'll confirm father's well-being, even if we have to break down the door to his study. You have no problems with that, I take it. Nissan. Do as you like! See, it seems even the time I've been given to persuade him is short. Let us go, Natsuhi. We shall ask him to join us for dinner, at least.
Right.
Kraus left the parlor with Natsuhi. Once their footsteps disappeared, Hideyoshi took a deep breath, smirking and flopping onto the sofa. Smirking Hideyoshi with a gun?
If only.
That noise you just made after I said the phrase smirking Hideyoshi with a gun. That was... Wow, tell me how you really feel.
Kirie-san, you're a frightening person.
Sorry for speaking out of turn. I apologize. No, you didn't corner him like we'd originally planned, but in the end this was even better. It's like always, I gotta bow my head to you.
But can he really prepare 900 million? I believe we estimated that 750 million would be the most Kraus-san could afford with his current financial situation. Isn't 900 million gouging him too much?
If he can't do it, that's fine too. If we do something like lowering to 750 million, so Kraus-san can save face, it'll look like we're compromising and it'll be easier to settle. And if he really does come out with 900 million, that's even better. Nissan is probably having a strategy meeting with Natsuhi-san about now. It really will be interesting to see what kind of twisted logic our proud Nissan comes up with as an excuse. Convince father There's no way he can. There's no way to convince someone who isn't even there. Unless he is there. The siblings have all come, despite the various circumstances, for this annual family conference. Krauts and Nasuhi could be seen in Kinzo's dimly lit study. Every once in a while, thunder could be heard, and the dimly lit room flickered with light. What if Kinzo's like comatose?
Not dead, but not in control either.
Not dead, but also not able to. It seemed that the island would be closed off by the storm very soon.
Father, please, just this once, show those disrespectful people the majesty of the head. It's useless.
Show us Kinzo. Show us Kinzo.
Nope.
Nope. We're really doing this.
Yep.
The large shadow of a person standing by the window, his majestic back facing them, answered quietly and forcefully. Is it someone pretending to be Kinzo? He hung his head and shook. Eventually they could hear a mumbling laugh over his shoulder.
It's useless. It's all useless.
3 months left to live. An almost finished geezer? To whom exactly are you referring? Holy shit!
It's me, Kinzo.
Jesus! That actually jump scared me a little bit.
Oh my god! The new art's good! The new art's really good for this one.
The new art's good, but that's better.
You fools! Did you wander over here because your siblings threatened you? Know your shame.
Is Kinzo the witch this time around? As Kinzo turned and brushed his cape, it flashed forcefully through the room's stale air. Or is it the other thing? Or is it someone pretending to be Kinzo? The air pressure truly signified Ushiromiya Kinzo's majesty and willpower itself. After being blown back by that wind, it wasn't strange that Kraus landed on his butt. As though showing consideration for Kraus, who looked as though his legs had been swept out from under him, Natsuhi also crouched down. Then, with a thunk, Kinzo's footsteps approached with a heft that signified his dignity. Father! What is his... I am legit creeped out by... like, this is actually...
You fool! I heard from Canon. Just how far did you pathetically let your siblings lead you around by the nose? Father, my husband is doing his best to protect your honor.
Without lending an ear to Natsuhi's words, Kinzo extended his palm to Kraus's collar. The latter sat on the floor. No, he curled his fingers, leaving only his pointer finger out, then took that finger and pressed it up against Kraus's collar, twisted it, and slowly, with just one finger, picked Kraus up into the air. Yep. If we're going with abuse theory and abuse in magic, this certainly seems like it's about his abuse towards his children now. Or Kraus being the victim of abuse.
If it's following the trajectory of the previous ones, though,
yeah,
there's a person that it's about each time. So who's the person? Is it Kraus?
Kraus.
Interesting.
Kraus certainly seems to be getting the shit end of the stick this time around.
We'll see what's going on. We'll see. You really are a pathetic fool. You let your wife speak in your defense. If you have an excuse, give it yourself.
Kraus clawed at the air. Kinzo's brawny finger was choking him. He couldn't even open his mouth, much less talk. However, even if he had been able to open his mouth, as he was now, there was no way he'd be able to think of an excuse that Kinzo would accept. Still, how could this power be described? No one would call Kinzo an old man after seeing this superhuman strength.
Father, my husband is fighting in his own way. Please, forgive him. Natsuhi. Fighting is a process you go through before winning. The process you go through before losing isn't called fighting.
Jesus.
That's called being pathetic.
We also got an achievement when this Kinzo showed up for the first time. Did you notice that?
We did.
We got an achievement for this Kinzo specifically. What the fuck?
You call this my successor?
As thunder roared, Kinzo laughed heartily as though nothing could be more pleasant. And when he finished laughing, he threw his son away like he was scrap paper, slamming him against the wall. No!
Dear, are you okay?
Kraus slid down the wall, rubbing his throat as though in pain. Natsuhi ran up to him and looked after him, but without showing any interest in the two of them. Kinzo returned to the space near the window, as though he'd been there the whole time, and looked up at the thunderclouds of misfortune.
I thought I would have no regrets in my life. If only I could meet Beatrice. But it seems it won't go so smoothly. It was promised from the beginning that nothing received from the witch would remain. However, the Ushiromiya name is not the property of the witch. Who is fit to succeed that name? It seems that this alone must be resolved by my own hand. Rejoice, Kraus! I have changed my mind.
Father, so? Yeah, like, we've never seen Kraus this fucking vulnerable, or Kinzo this fucking scary.
Yeah.
I wonder if we go back and, like, we've definitely had moments where, like, each of the characters feels scary and threatening in their own ways, but always towards a specific person.
I have no desire to have dinner with you cowards. However, I will attend the family conference afterwards. Father, thank you very much. There, I shall make a great announcement regarding the succession of the head. I will resolve your foolish quarrel myself.
So this time it's not Beato, it's Kinzo just straight up coming out and doing it himself. This is great! I fucking love this! Oh, I love this. This is so good!
Beato doesn't show up. Kinzo just shows up to the family conference, makes the announcement, and then just starts killing people.
Yeah.
And then there.
Wow. Join us next time for more of this. I am hyped.
Yup.
Hyped for murder.
So hyped.
Oh, so hyped for the destruction of the Ushiromiyas.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.